Hello, hello. Just gonna wait for. I got 6 people. Basically a party. Hello, everyone. So I'm gonna wait for some more people to show up, and then I'm gonna start answering your guys' questions. Hello, Mr. Miller. Is it Miller time today? Hello, Robbie99. So we got 3 people now, 5 people now. Anyway, yep, just enjoying my Friday or what's left of it. This is Ask Me Anything Friday. So sit back, open up a soda, and let's just relax. Michelob Ultra. It's actually not bad, Michelob Ultra. Hello, Chopo. Hello, Cofteo. Buenos dias. Buenos dias. Buenos dias. Buenazua. Is that Romanian? Try to get the lighting a little bit better here. That should be better. So I'm going to start answering you guys' questions. So the first question comes from Mediterranean Christian Culture. Hi, Ted. Is one of your... Oh, hold on. Can't really read. In one of your articles, you said 90% of Japan's energy comes through Taiwan. Can you explain that more? Yeah. Japan imports energy. I'm guessing... Oh, it's been a while since I've talked about this, but I think it's oil or natural gas. And so when it imports it, because Japan has no natural source of energy, has no natural gas, it has no oil, so it has to import these energy resources, and it does so through Taiwan. So I think that explains it enough. Am I a Christian? Yes. My father's fridge is all hams, Miller High Life, and Michelob Ultra. Awesome. I've never tried hams. I've never tried that before. Hams. Is that like a local beer? Theodore Hams Brewing Company. I've never seen that before. That's interesting. Japan also has a very low agricultural output. Yeah, I don't see Japan as a big exporting company. I don't see it exporting vegetables. Japan exports electronics, power tools, things of that nature. There are many Japanese power tools. There's a lot of Japanese tech. I mean, we've all heard of Sony, Toshiba, PlayStation, Nintendo. All these things come from Japan. That's why Japan is one of the biggest economies in the world. It's because it exports all these goods that we also love, right? Nintendo. I recently got the Nintendo Switch. Got Mario Kart on there, which is a lot of fun. Super Smash Brothers, which is a lot of fun. I recently started playing Resident Evil 8, which so far is an amazing video game. Very, very creepy. Midwest, Minnesota, specifically, the old slogan was always from the land of sky blue icy. I've never seen that. Another good regional beer is Yuling. It's a great American regional beer. For so long, it was just stuck in the East Coast. It was all like in the East Coast and everything, and now it's in Texas. So I just started that. Do you think China will invade Taiwan soon? And if that happens, what do you think will happen? Do you think China will invade Taiwan? I don't think China will invade Taiwan, no. At least not in the near future. Thank God Japan doesn't have fertile land, USA or Europe. It would be the end of the world. Dan Miller, I'm not going to answer these questions. That's for you. That's between you and your son. I don't get into parental stuff. I'm not here to be a parent counselor. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to talk about theology, geopolitics, but that kind of stuff, I'm just not interested. Just stop it. It's freaking annoying. Do you celebrate Halloween? I only celebrate Halloween in one way, and that is I watch The Exorcist once a year. That is my tradition. That's my tradition. Is I watch The Exorcist. We should have a spooky stream. Let's talk about horror movies today. I mean, I'll talk about whatever you guys want, unless of course you want to ask stupid questions. But if you want to talk about horror movies, I mean, if you have a favorite horror movie, whatever. We got 9 people on the stream, so I should probably wait until some more people get on. I start this thing at 3:30 p.m. Central Time, which is 4:30 Eastern Time. That way, I allow other people to get on. Have you taken a look at the unsuccessful coup d'état in Japan from the Kodoha faction prior to World War II? I think I have looked into this. Yes, I think there was an assassination attempt, or there was an assassination that took place before the Second World War, and there was a very famous Buddhist leader, or was it TD Suzuki? I'm not entirely sure. There was a Japanese Buddhist intellect who said that this assassin carried with him like the pure spirit of Buddhism because he killed without emotion. Something like that. But Japan has a very long history of right-wing reactionary violence and ideology, and it's still there, very, very alive and well in Japan. I'm not into pranks, Koteo. I don't do pranks. I used to do pranks when I was like 12. I don't do that anymore. Tales from the Crypt Demon Night. Is that a movie? What do you think will be the future of Myanmar thanks to its recent? I have no idea, dude. I don't study Myanmar. Have you seen Midsummer? I'm not that interested in horror, but it's a weird mythology. Yes, I did. I did see Midsummer. Very bizarre film. I thought that Midsummer had really good potential. I thought the film actually was pretty good until the end. I didn't like the ending. Too bizarre for me. Tales from the Crypt Demon Night. I'm going to look that up. Yeah, I'm just not into pranks. Quick question. Do you think Russia and China are just bluffing about hypersonic missile? I did a video about this yesterday, guys. Come on. Don't you guys look at the videos? Yeah. I think it's all I don't know about Russia, but China definitely I think it's overhyped. Just from what I've heard. Um just from what I've heard, we actually have no reliable evidence that China launched a hypersonic missile into low orbit. There was an article that came out about it from the Financial Times, which uses all anonymous sources, which really doesn't. I don't know if that. I mean, it doesn't really mean much if it's not complemented with sources that we can actually verify. China says that they didn't launch a hypersonic missile, that they just did a flight test for a reusable space vehicle. It's China's word against the Financial Times. I wouldn't put too much weight on it. Any country with space sophistication could launch something into low orbit. It's really not that big of a deal. Plus, China supposedly already has the means to nuking the United States at least 100 times. Supposedly, China has 100 nukes. So it doesn't really change anything. The hypersonic missile doesn't change anything because China already has the ability to hit us with nukes if it wants to, but it doesn't want to because it would mean suicide. Because while China has at least 100 nukes, America has over 1,000 nukes, and America would completely exterminate millions of Chinese people, and I don't think China wants that. Hello, Kate. Kate is a lot easier than I can't pronounce her name. Is it Kasha or I kept saying for years, I mean, not for years, but for months I kept saying Katarzyna. Do you think Japan will have a military again like it did in the past? Yes. If so, what are the implications of it? Another war in the Pacific between China and Japan. That's my belief. I've been saying this since 2014. I think Japan is going to revive its military. Every single year, Japan gets more and more militaristic. Um, so many Japanese politicians, I think like almost the majority of Japanese politicians deny that Nanking even happened. I think almost the majority of Japanese politicians deny that Japan had comfort women or sex slaves during the Second World War. Um, and a huge chunk of the Japanese government is a part of a cult called it's called Nippon Kaigai or Kaigi. I don't know how to pronounce it. And it's a political cult that wants to revive emperor worship. Um, Japan wants to pursue um, possessing nuclear weapons. It wants to pursue nuclear armament. So yeah, I think that as long as the United States is afraid of China, um, Japan is going to have the green light to return to militarism further and further every single year. And now Japan wants to boost its military capability to have the ability to hit, um, to have the means to hit long distant military bases preemptively. So I think it's like Turkey, Turkey is reviving its military, it's strengthening its military. Japan is doing the same thing. Although Japan is in a different situation than Turkey in the sense that Japan is under the watchful eye of America. Turkey is not because the U.S. has never had a war with Turkey. But what happens when America stops watching Japan? What happens when America just unleashes Japan into the rest of Asia? Then you have yourself a real nightmare. I just brought up Turkey, Mr. Romanian, so I I hope you're happy. Sorry for the 2 messages on that. No, just don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. It's good. I'll look it up. Oh my goodness, no, I'm Filipino. Yeah. 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 I mean, see, that's the thing. This is what Americans don't really comprehend when it comes to like the rest of the world and how the rest of the world. They're like, oh, we're America, we're so good. The reason why America is, I think one of the biggest reasons why America is still standing today is because we are in between 2 oceans and we are sandwiched in between 2 countries, both of which are America's bitch. Mexico and Canada. Canada, Mexico, all of South America, completely harmless to the United States. America has no worry about being invaded. We are not neighboring, we're not bordering with a country that could actually destroy us. People in Asia are people in most of the world are in a very volatile position. If you think about it, like if you live in Western Europe, you got big old fat Germany. Western and Central Europe, you got big old fat Germany, and it's right there in the middle. If you're living in Poland, you got Germany right next to you. You got Russia right next to you. If you're living in Eastern Europe, you have Russia, you have Germany. If you're living in Northeast Asia, you have Japan, you have China. If you're living in Africa, then you have to worry about everyone around you. So most people live in volatile geopolitical positions. If you're Poland, you're in a really messed up, not, I wouldn't say completely messed up, but you're in a volatile, capricious position because Poland is one of the biggest economies in the world. And Germany, I don't think really likes that. I don't think Russia likes that. Poland is a very growing economy. I was actually thinking about this today. Like, why did Ukraine hate Poland so much? And I thought about it. Poland defeated the Soviet Union, or the Soviets, the Bolsheviks, after World War I, and took the western half of Ukraine. Took the western half of Ukraine. Poland had a war with Ukraine, defeated Ukraine, and took another chunk of Ukraine for itself. And Poland was a rising power. If you think about it, after World War I, Poland was a rising power. So that's probably the reason why Ukrainians hated Poland. I'm not saying it's justified. I'm just saying, just observing. I think that's why they probably hated Poland. As an Orthodox Christian, how do we get Hagia Sophia back? Oh, God. Hold on. I got the scam callers calling me. Hold on, man. I'm constantly getting these calls from India. I really gotta put this thing on do not disturb mode. Let's see here. Okay. I got a question. Okay, hold on. As an Orthodox Christian, how do we get Hagia Sophia back? You got to start another crusade, man. We're going to start the next crusade on the internet. And we're going to have an army of 4chaners and trad cats. And then we're going to have an army of ortho bros on the front lines. We're all going to drink a Pilsner. And we're going to defeat Istanbul. Okay, we're going to defeat Ankara. We're going to defeat the mighty armies of NATO. In all seriousness, I think the only way you're ever going to get Hagia Sophia back is if you have a serious war and Turkey loses and they give it back to the Greeks. I don't know. It's crazy questions, man. I didn't think we would plan the next Christian jihad on this live stream. I got a question. What is your thoughts of the Sami people? Oh, interesting question. Well, the Sami people are, for those of you who don't know, they are really like the Native Americans of Scandinavia. They are an indigenous people in Scandinavia. I mean, I guess the white people of Scandinavia are indigenous as well, but they are an indigenous people in Scandinavia. And they are, I think, genetically Turkic people, but they're kind of mixed with white. So they're like they're Eurasian people. And they're a Turkic race of people who have a shamanistic religion that's similar to that of the Native Americans or the Tuvans of Siberia. And I think they have a form of throat singing. And I think they're maybe genetically related to the Eskimos of Alaska. I believe that they are really a living piece of evidence of mass Turkic migrations that were taking place in antiquity into Northern Europe. And I think they are a living memory of those Turkic migrations into Eastern Europe, because Scandinavia is right near Russia, and Russia has the Tuvans, who are also a Turkic people. And when you look at a map, you can see this migration. In Scandinavia, you see the Samis. You go into Russia, you see the Tuvans, the Turkic peoples of Russia, specifically Siberia. You keep going, you go across the Bering Strait, and you're in Alaska, and you see the Eskimos, and you keep going down, you see these different Native American peoples. I think the Samis were just a part of that migration. Very fascinating history and very fascinating people. There is a detail that is referenced or that is made in one of the Norse writings, and it says that when Odin, the god Odin, when he was a human being, because a lot of these ancient deities are just deified warlords and kings. When Odin was on the earth, he was living actually in the Caucasus Mountains in Turkey. That's what the saga tells us. That's what this Norse literature tells us. And that he migrated northwards, probably up the Caucasus Mountains, went across the Black Sea, got into Europe, and eventually came to Germany. And he settled in Germany for a bit. And the literature tells us that he migrated all the way up to Sweden. And he was a major land owner back in Turkey, Anatolia. He was a part of the Indo-European peoples, but he eventually made his way up with his tribe to Sweden. And the literature tells us that when he arrived in Sweden, that there was another ethnic group of people already living there, and that they had submitted themselves to the reign of Odin. I wouldn't be surprised that those people who were already living there were the Samis, but we can't really, we don't really know until we have enough, I guess, archaeological evidence that indicates that to us. I've seen a video a while ago where a French guy who lives there describes that a big part of Japan's population is part of. Hold on a second. Man. I lost it. Okay. I've seen a video a while ago where a French guy who lives there describes that a big part of Japan's population is part of different cults that function like Protestant congregations. Yes. Yeah, he's right. There are a lot of cults in Japan, political cults, weird Buddhist cults. There's a lot of them there. In a way, Japanese Buddhism, it kind of went the way of Protestantism in a sense, because in the history of Christianity, you have the Catholic Church, and then you have the Protestant Reformation that splits from the Catholic Church, the Protestant Rebellion. And the Protestants eventually come to the point where they say, well, you don't really need the church. You sever the church from God, and all you need is your relationship with God. And that's the conclusion of Protestantism. The Japanese Buddhists kind of took the same route, because originally Buddhism had a lot of rituals. If you look at Buddhism in Southeast Asia, it's a lot more puritanical and it's a lot more rigorous. Whereas when you look at Japanese Buddhism, there's more of they have more of this idea of keeping things very simple and very easy. So instead of going to temple and meditating for an hour, you could just say the name of uh, Amitabha Buddha, or you could say something very similar to that, and you would have you would reach some sort of enlightenment by doing that. And the Japanese made Buddhism very easy, just like Protestants made Christianity very easy. So I think the French guy that you watched definitely had a point. Watch the movie The Men Behind the Sun. I already watched it. Great movie. Men Behind the Sun. Great movie. About not great in the sense that it's like, I loved what I saw, but great in the sense that it was very accurate. Romania sent a lot of weapons to Poland during the Polish-Soviet War. Awesome. Polska pride. We also let their government in exile stay in our territory for. I did not know that. Awesome. I also believe I've read that the government in exile was in England, but I guess they were in Romania. I'll look into that. Explain original sin in the Catholic perspective. Is it accepted by the Eastern Orthodox? Yes, it is accepted. I mean, both Eastern Orthodox and Catholics believe in original sin. We are born sinful, bottom line. We are born with a sin nature. We are born with sinful inclinations. We are born with the flesh, and the flesh has a natural tendency to rebellion. That's original sin summarized right there. Next week on the 28th of October, Greece will celebrate the 82nd anniversary of going to war against the Axis in World War II in 1940, the day of no, as in no to Italy. Oh, awesome. Awesome. Can we get lost in our way and accidentally sack Berlin instead of Istanbul? They are Uralic, and the German tribes were there first. Okay. Well, Uralic, I mean, come on. Uralic, Turkic, is there really a huge difference? Truly. Because according to Wikipedia, it's all part of the Ural Altaic languages. Turkic, Mongolic, Tungusic. Ural Altaic is a linguistic convergence zone and former language family. Yeah, I mean, I think they're all part of the same family of languages, really. Why do you think Christianity is dying in the West but growing in the East, especially in places of persecution, especially China? I don't know. Are we still back in the 1990s when we kept talking about these subjects? No, in all seriousness. I think it's kind of a stereotype or a cliche to say that Christianity is just growing in the East. I don't think it's that black and white, because if you go to Russia, I mean, they say, oh, Christianity is reviving in a sense, but there's plenty of atheism in Russia, plenty of people who hate religion in Russia, plenty of people who are atheists in Eastern Europe. India, is Christianity growing in India? In certain parts, probably, but I don't really. I'm seeing more of a Hindu revival in India more than anything else. Christianity is definitely reviving in a country like Iran. Iran has one of the highest rates of conversion from Islam to Christianity in the world. There's really no popularity for Christianity in Japan. I would say Japan has the most resistant society to Christianity on earth. I don't think there's a country that is as resistant to Christianity as Japan is. I just don't see it. I think Saudi Arabia probably has more converts to Christianity than Japan. China has millions of Christians, yes. I think it's obvious why. It's because, for one, you've had years of persecution and suppression of religion, Christianity included. People are thirsty for spirituality. People are tired of a cold, mechanical society. They want to know God. And when, I'm not entirely sure. I've never been to China, nor have I truly studied this topic in an in-depth way. But it's definitely growing in China. Christianity is definitely growing in China, but it's not growing in Japan. Why? Two different cultures. What I have heard is that what's the term? The Confucianist society of Japan it has a lot of emphasis on morality. It has a lot of emphasis on family and society. And Christianity, the society is very conducive to accepting Christianity. In Japan, I think maybe that society is not maybe. I think that Japan is a much more cold society. Japan is a society where people don't express their feelings, people don't express what they think, and people there are kind of like brick walls. And a society like that, which is very proudful and very nationalistic, many times these societies have difficulty accepting Christianity. Japan is also a very traditional society in the sense that they want to stick to a certain status quo. Shinto, Buddhism, that is religion. Christianity, no. And plus, also, there's an historical element to this in the sense that Christianity was introduced to Japan by the Portuguese. There were many converts to Catholicism at that time in Japan. But there was also a war between Buddhists, Shintoists, and Christians, in which the Dutch assisted the Japanese Shintoists against the Christians and defeated them. And once that happened, the Japanese went into a state of isolationism because they didn't want Christianity to come into Japan. I mean, truly, the main reason why Japan went into a state of isolationism for so many centuries was because they did not want Christianity to come into their society. I can't think of a country in the world that ever did something like that. I can't think of a country that went into absolute isolationism for hundreds of years because they did not want Christianity. That is something that I can't fully explain. And I think the only way you can explain that is if you reference the supernatural. I think there's something very evil about that country, and it's beyond our comprehension, really. Now we're talking about schnitzel and chorba and shivapi. To me, it's all the same thing. They're all descendants of Ottoman influence. Let's be real here. There's tons of Ottoman influence in European cuisine, especially Eastern European, especially when you go to the Balkans. I mean, what is Balkan food at the end of the day? Balkan food is Middle Eastern food with pork. It is. It's Middle Eastern food with pork. Even the dish that they like so much in the Balkans, it's like eggplant mixed with chilies, ajvak or something like that. Anya, I don't remember the name, but that's. I mean, come on, we do the same thing in the Middle East. We told Baba Ganoush that French guy was a weeb. Well, hey, weebs have a lot of knowledge, man. They sit behind the computer all day. They're doing a lot of reading. Schnitzel chorba. Romanian has a lot of Slavic loan words, my Croatian war criminal friend, so don't get surprised when you don't understand them. Romania is the most religious country in Europe, 98%. I'm telling you, people are like, how come Christianity is dying in the West? Well, and it's growing in the East. The reason why I don't like the question is because it's just too black and white. It doesn't look at all the gray areas. It doesn't look at the different details that are taking place in this picture. It's like, well, which part of the East, which part of the West are you talking about? Because Poland is the West and it's pretty religious. When I was in Italy, I mean, there were a lot of people who were going to church. I saw a lot of young people who were going to church. Japan, it doesn't care about Christianity. There's very little conversion to Christianity in Japan. India, I'm seeing a Hindu revival. Russia, I think Orthodox Christianity in Russia is mainly a nationalistic thing for a lot of people. I'm not too crazy about the question. I'm just not. It's like, well, it's just growing in the East. I've been hearing about this since the 1990s. I have been I've been hearing about this since the 1990s, guys. About China. I remember back in the 1990s, we used to go to this picnic once a year. It was for the 4th of July. It was called the Singing Flag. It was one of the things that we all looked forward to going to. It was to celebrate America's independence on July the 4th. And I remember every time we went to the Singing Flag, they had hot dogs, and it was the most American thing you could experience. Like, seriously, if you ever visited America in the 1990s and you came to my city in the month of July and you went to the Singing Flag picnic that we had every year, you would have the most American experience that you could ever experience. Hot dogs, cotton candy, nachos, hamburgers on the grill, cold beers. People on a. There was this ginormous stage in a green field, people dancing with American flag. And I'm not talking about like bullshit dancing where everyone's like waving a flag. I mean like professional dancers with the American flags, kicking their legs up high, doing like ballerina movements, American flags swirling around, giant fireworks in the air. It was like 2 hours of America. I mean, you experienced America in the Sinking Flag Festival. It was unreal. You know what's so sad though is that as I got more and more into teenage years, the Sinking Flag was, I guess, people just stopped going to it. I don't think they even have it there anymore. But back in the 90s and in the early 2000s and all that, especially after 9/11, we had these festivals. It was just so crazy. It was like we would talk about World War II veterans, and then the announcer would come up and with giant loudspeaker, he would say, any veterans in the crowd. All the veterans would get up, and it was insane. It's the most American experience you'll ever have. Singing Flag Festival. And I remember there was this woman, her name was Barbara, and Barbara had a passion for China. She, I think, went to China several times. She she would bring these Chinese immigrants from China. She would have them come to America. She created this program where she would bring immigrants from China. She would bring people from China to America, and she would have them experience the singing flag. And she would do this to witness to them and to bring and to kind of get them to taste America, right? So that way they can kind of further come to the realization that China is shit, right? China's shit and America's number one. And every time we would go to the singing flag, we would meet these Chinese people. And the fireworks would hit the air and all the Chinese people looking up in the sky. Good times. Good times. And I remember all these people were waving their American flags. And there was this Chinese guy who was waving his American flag. And he says, "You know what I find on American flag? What? It says made in China." Oh, God. Good times. Good times, man. I love it. And then one time, this Chinese guy, he took the American flag. He took the Romanian flag. See what you guys are doing to me with your talk about Shiva. Enough. He took the American flag and he took the Chinese flag. And he says, "China, America, come together. Understand one another. Come together." I never forget that. It was a moment in and even as a little kid, I saw that and I knew what he was talking about. Like, oh yeah, he wants us to get along. He wants people to get along. Good times, huh? Good times. There's a meme that's been going on around online on YouTube where it's like, wake up, it's, and then name your early date. Like, wake up, it's 2003, and they'll put a video game from 2003 and they'll play a song from that time. Wake up, it's 2007. Wake up, it's 2009. And I've watched some of those videos and it kind of struck a nerve with me, you know? Christianity is growing in India, but not shown in the official population tally. Most new Christians are registered are Hindus and do not. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Yes, that's true. Many Christians in Japan, they fled to India. That's correct. Avyar. Yes. Avyar is a Balkan version of Baba Ganoush. That's all it is. I'm telling you, Croatian food is straight up Middle Eastern food with pork. That's what it is. It's like if the Middle East never converted to Islam, you would have the Middle East would be like the Balkans. I remember there was this guy from he was a Croatian priest. He came to my house and we would just serve him Middle Eastern food. And he freaking loved it. He would come to our house, sometimes even uninvited, just to have food, Middle Eastern stuff. Because he says, American food is just garbage. So he wanted that Middle Eastern stuff because he says it's so much like Croatian food. It's almost the same thing. Christianity in China are not truly growing because the anti-Western pro-Han culture are now really strong there. And also there's numerous Christian cults that, yep, I know, I've heard. There was a cult in China that was like going around killing people and stuff. We have some words in Istra adopted from Pastamin that you might understand, like skujad, skuaj, boska, prusmulo, stupido, fazol. Fazol is beans. I know that. Spanish, Spanish, it's frijoli. Frijole, and I think in Italian it's fagioli. The only one I understand is fazol. Okay, Christianity in China growing, maybe correct in the 90s and early 2000s, but now I don't think so. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is a 1990s thing. Early 2000s, we kept hearing about all the Christians from China. I mean, is this even a thing anymore? I'm sure there's, listen, I know for a fact there are millions of people in China who are Christian. But to say like Christianity is growing in the East, well, what do you mean by the East? Japan? Do you mean Indonesia, Malaysia? Like, how much is Christianity growing, and what kind of Christianity are they converting to? You know what I mean? Are they becoming Eastern Orthodox, or are they becoming some crazy evangelical stuff where they drink Starbucks coffee and worship a white man with a Hawaiian shirt. Which one? And let's be real here. I mean, evangelical churches are like that. You have a guy with a Hawaiian shirt and he's, ripped because he goes to the gym all the time. And he's like, guys, I want you to turn your Bibles. No, I can't. I'm not going to do the stereotype. I'm not going to do the meme. Guys, why don't we just turn our Bibles to First Timothy chapter 2. No, hold on. No, let me pick one that everybody knows. Philippians chapter 2. Go to Philippians chapter 2. Everyone, I want you to turn your Bibles to that verse. Philippians chapter 2. I can do all things through Christ. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how Christ can save your marriage, because your marriage sucks and your wife hates you. And she's probably cheating on you, and you're getting cucked right now. And that's why you're here. And that's why she's here. Let's talk about how Christ is going to save your business. Christ is going to save your business. You're up in your ass in debt right now. You're broke. You're all out of money. You're probably going to foreclose on your house because you can't pay the bank back. Guys, let's talk about why you're a fat ass and why you should go to the gym and how Christ is going to give you big muscles. I mean, that's the state of. I'm sorry to say this, but it's to a great extent. I know I'm kind of exaggerating, but this is basically the state of American Christianity. But with that said, though, I think Christianity in America is probably a lot more vibrant than most other countries. Truly, I mean, you have a pro-life rally in America. You'll have thousands upon thousands of tens of thousands of people will come to a pro-life rally in America. But try doing that in Europe; it's not that much. So, I mean, with American Christianity, with all of its faults, and it has many, does have it definitely has its positives, But there's always room for improvement. Same thing in Greece and Serbia. It is mostly a national pride. Yes, I know. This is what I keep hearing from people who are even from Eastern Europe. Like, Christianity is something of a national pride. It's something that you connect with your ethnic group. Like in Bosnia, you have the Roman Catholics, the Eastern Orthodox, and then you have the Muslims. And they kind of all associate their own religion or their own sect with their group. It's like the reason why Ottomans killed all the Armenians. I mean, Christianity became something that was associated with being an Armenian or being an Assyrian or being a Greek. And the Ottomans said, okay, let's kill all the Christians. And what that meant was, let's kill all the Armenians, let's kill the Assyrians, let's kill all the Greeks. And there was a genocide of these three people. I mean, when we talk about the Armenian genocide, we have to remember the Armenians weren't the only people being killed. The Greeks were genocided and the Assyrians were genocided. It would seem there are more differences in we're talking about the Romanian stuff. Romanians are not necessarily patriotic, but we tend to keep our faith, which is good. Okay, that's good. Did you know that polenta, mabliga in Romanian, is the national dish of Romania and is considered peasant food because the Spanish introduced corn to Europe? I did not know that. How do you guys like your polenta? Is it like, I've never tried it actually. Become Romanian dead. Sad that extreme nationalism would keep. Hold on. Christianity is not growing in East, but growing in the void. Romanian Ted. My Chinese bro owns Americans at their own holiday. Yep. I don't know who is Granny Baba Ganas, but we, unlike you, do not eat our elders. What the hell? James Muhammad White. Yes. So vicious to Catholics, very nice to Muslims. That's one thing I always noticed about James White. I never liked this debate bro culture. It's just, to me, it's just totally cringe. Like, we're going to have a debate. Let's just split hairs for 3 hours. That's one of the reasons why when that Eastern Orthodox guy wanted to argue with me, he wanted to split hairs with me. And I'm like, nope, not playing that bullshit game with you. Let's get down to, forget the meta-analysis, forget all that bullshit. Let's get down to the big picture, okay? I got the polenta thing here in the front of the screen. Let's get down to the big picture. Because he's like, I'm Eastern Orthodox. Have you heard of the energy essence distinction? You need to know that. You heard of the energy essence distinction? Did you know that? Are you part of the church? If you're a part of the church, that's how he talked, by the way. If you're part of the church, just like a wannabe Jay Dyer, you part of the church, then you have to know about the energy essence distinction. Energy essence distinction. Okay, what does that mean? Can you explain it to me? Okay, you can't even explain it to me. Are you pro-life? Oh, I'm pro-life too. Awesome. Oh, are you like against gay marriage? Oh, I'm also against that. So what the hell are you talking about? Well, you can't. You're not able. You won't be able to recognize evil. You won't be able to even detect evil if you don't understand like the energy essence distinction. It's like a level up in a video game. You got the special weapon in Resident Evil that you can blow the zombies with. That's like what the energy essence distinction is like. It's like a gut. It's like a new weapon that you have now. You can like see things better. Okay, you have the energy essence distinction. I supposedly don't. But we both can detect what is evil. So what's your point? Like, I like to have conversations on the big picture for things. What is the big picture? Council of Nicaea, big picture. Is Jesus divine? Pretty important, right? Is Jesus one of the persons of the Holy Trinity? Pretty important question. That's part of the big picture. The Eucharist, big picture, very important, right? That's what I like to talk about. I don't like to sit there. Well, what do you think of this one little thing? I don't care. I don't give a shit. I honestly don't care about whatever the hell these people want to talk about. I hate pulling hair. I hate splitting hairs. I hate debates where people split hairs for 3 hours. Like Calvinist versus whatever. Is infant baptism essential? And they're like, well, the Greek word nomeratatos thogamamon states, like, I'm not interested in that. I don't care. I'm not interested. You're actually underplaying it. Not exactly. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I'm underplaying the pastor. Yeah, you're probably right. Well, literally, like, everything I mentioned in that joke, like you're here because your wife left you. I mean, that happens all the time, which reminds me later on in this live stream, if I can remember, maybe if you guys can remind me, we can talk about marriage horror stories again, like I did last week, if you guys are interested. Last week, I talked about the story of Mark. This week, I can talk about some more stories if you want. I got a number of them. I have a number of them in the back of my mind. If you guys want to hear marriage horror stories, then let me know. But I don't want to do it now because I'll wait until later when the sun starts going. When the sun starts going down, that's when my mind begins to settle. I feel more fluid. I start having more of a flow of consciousness coming out of my mind. Yeah, I love the feeling. There is still hold on. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. All right. Jesus Christ, God, Yeah. Albanians being an exception to an extent. Poland has a robust pro-life movement and a very vibrant. Yes, it does. You're correct. You are correct. Yes. That's why I'm saying when people say it's growing in the East, but it's dying in the West, is that really true? Is it really true, guys? Because I've talked to people in like Russia and they'll say like, yeah, Christianity is kind of a thing here, but it's not the biggest thing, This is a Czech Pilsner. This is the only Eastern European beer I think that's sold in America nationwide. Pilsner Urquell or whatever. Listen, if you guys, is this really a thing in Czechoslovakia or is this a meme? Is this a thing? People maybe in Romania or in the Balkans, maybe. I don't know. You guys know about this? Tell me about it, guys. Do you think that being under the yoke of Islam completely wiped out the teaching to go and evangelize among the Assyrian Syriac? I don't understand what wiped out the teaching to go and evangelize among Yeah, that probably had something to do with it. Yeah, just being under Islam for 1,000 years, I think just it made it so that people, the Christian minority in the Islamic world, became very protectionist. Like they just wanted to protect their own people and they wanted to survive. So in order to survive, you just keep your mouth shut and be nice. I think that explains it. I mean, if you're living under the yoke of Islam for 1,000 years, I think it's safe to say that you're going to be pretty conditioned to being polite to the majority. When you're a minority, you're going to be conditioned to being polite to the majority and not to rock the boat, so to speak. So you're not really going to be preaching to people and all that because you might end up dead. Like, and your village might end up destroyed and your people will be brutalized. And yeah, there's a whole, it's like under in the Third Reich, a lot of Catholics did not, even though they did, even though they were rescuing Jewish people from the Nazis or they were fighting the Nazis, a lot of Catholics were not vocal against Hitler because they knew once you start speaking out against Hitler, um, you could endanger your village or some Catholic town or neighborhood, and it just wasn't worth it. I'm very scared of you. Baba means grandmother, thus Baba Ganoush, or however it's written, sounds like Granny Ganoush. Probably. There's a Greek dish where they take eggplant and cook it with tomatoes, and then they mash it into a mix, or they not. Some people mash it, but some people don't. But they call it they call it like eggplant imam because supposedly some Turkish imam liked to make this dish, and the Greeks picked it up. So boring, that energy. Yes, I know, very monotonous. Baba means grandmother too in Romanian, but it has kind of negative connotations. I see. Do you watch anime? No, I do not. I watched anime one time in my life. One time I watched anime. It was back in 2004 or 2003, and it was after I watched The Matrix Reloaded in theater, and I became so obsessed with this movie. So I wanted to watch and read everything about The Matrix. And then I found out about this Matrix series called The Animatrix, which was a Japanese anime that it consisted of a bunch of episodes that were part of the Matrix universe. So I was so excited. I got the Animatrix from Blockbuster, rented it from Blockbuster. And for those of you who don't live in America, Blockbuster was a big franchise where you would go into this store called Blockbuster and you would rent a movie for like 5 days. And then once you were done with it, you returned it back, or else you were going to get penalized with an extra price tag. So got this is before Netflix, so got the movie from or the disc from the Blockbuster. Was so excited. Got some McDonald's, and I had my McDonald's ready. Was so excited that I did not eat the McDonald's. Just put it on the side, and I started watching the Animatrix. And the Animatrix has this episode called the Second Renaissance, which is basically about how humans developed AI to the point where robots take over the world, and this is how the Matrix got created. And in the Second Renaissance, the robots begin to slaughter the humans, and my God, I did not expect a cartoon to be so violent. I didn't at that age. Had no idea that such a thing really existed. It was horrifying. And there is a scene in the Second Renaissance, and I do not recommend that people watch it, where a man is being torn limb from limb by a giant robot while screaming to God for help. And there was something about hearing the screams of another man. There was something about hearing the screams of another human praying to God for help as he was being slowly torn to pieces that horrified me to no end. It horrified me. I mean, I'm like, I'm not watching this shit. I'm done. I'm out. That's it. Out. Not watching this. And that was the first and last time that I watched Japanese anime. So hope that answers your question. Horrifying. Do not watch the Animatrix. Do not watch the Second Renaissance. Scared the shit out of me. Horrifying. And another thing the Orthodox like to split hairs is trying to debate the Immaculate Conception of the blood. Yeah, I know. I had a discussion with a Russian Orthodox guy who was on his way to becoming a monk about this, and he said, the one thing I disagree with you on is on the Immaculate Conception. I said, well, what's your problem with it? He said, well, the idea that Mary is immaculately conceived in this, and I said, okay, do you believe that Mary was sinless? He says, yes. I said, well, then why are we having a debate? And he's like, yeah, you got a point. Okay, just drop the subject already. How's your rooster's harem marriage? Very good, very healthy. The rooster has lost a lot of weight because I've been putting the chickens on a diet because they were getting a little overweight. So they've all lost a lot of weight. They're all very healthy. Rooster is having a very, very healthy sex life. Why is Eastern Europe so poor than Western Europe? I don't know. I'll let the Eastern Europeans answer that question for me. I really don't know. Czechs are not Eastern, they are Central, but aren't they a Slavic people? But anyway, my main point is this, they say that this is like real Czech beer. Is it really? Because in America, we have an Australian beer called Foster's. And I talked to an Australian girl years ago and I said, is Foster's popular in Australia? And she started laughing at me and she said, it's one of the many beers here in Australia. It just became popular in the United States. Try living under the Turks for 400 years. I know it must have really sucked ass. Matrix is so gay. Yeah, it kind of is actually. It's a little weird. Also, Romanian brother is right. Czechs are indeed as Western as they can be. Fine. They're okay, fine. They border with Germany, but they're still a Slavic people, correct? Hello, my Norwegian friend. What do you have planned for the direction of your channel? Do you intend to regularly have guests in the future or continue with the current format of all solo live streams? Um so my whole strategy, my procedure is that I try to do at least one video every day. Some of these videos get a decent amount of views, and some of them get like no more than 240 views. I've noticed that some subjects are more popular than others on my channel. Like, for example, when I talk about Israel or when I talk about Jewish people and history, those get a lot of views. When I talk about the world order, those get a lot of views. When I talk about why a particular country is garbage and sucks, those do get a decent amount of views. But when I talk about things like Japan and Germany and Iran, it doesn't get as many views. But if I do a video criticizing one group of Catholics like Maronites, or if I do a video criticizing the Eastern Orthodox, for some reason that gives me like a bunch of views. I don't know why. Hundreds of people will watch those. I don't know why. As far as guests goes, I really don't like inviting people on. And I've explained why I don't like inviting people. If I know somebody, like we've been talking for a while and we're kind of friends like on the internet, or we're close acquaintances on the internet, I don't mind asking that person, like, hey, do you want to come on the live stream and just talk? Okay, fine. I don't have an issue with that. But am I gonna sit here and go out of my way to like write somebody who doesn't even know me because he has a bigger channel than me or he's more famous than me or whatever, and ask him, hey, do you want to come on my show? I'm not really interested in that. Because once you start asking people, people tend to be like, you must be a small fry if you're asking me for an interview. I don't know. But I do enjoy doing these Friday afternoon live streams with you guys. I think it's a lot of fun talking to you guys. And I think it's a lot of fun hearing your questions. So I think I'm definitely going to be continuing on with doing the Friday live stream. Yeah. Favorite song right now? Oh, that's a hard one. Let me see. Hold on. There is a song that I got into recently from Russia. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Mm, I think this is it right here. Yeah, this is it. Let me hold on. This is the song here. I don't know how to say this in English because I can't read Russian, but it's one of these post punk songs that are very popular in Russia. I like it a lot. This song I think has a great rhythm. I will post a link in the chat. Here you guys go. You can enjoy it. Uh their actions spoke louder than their words could anyway. What are you referring to exactly? If you look at which parts of ex-Yugoslavia were under Turkey and which parts have lower literacy levels through history, they correlate. AKA under Turkish boot education was non-existent. So they haven't recovered from that, is what you're saying. Let's not forget the whole child kidnapping, slavery, killing. Yeah, I understand. Imam Bailey is the eggplant dish that you're looking for. The story is about the Imam trying it out. Yes, yes, this is the story. Imam tried it out and loved it, and it's still a very popular dish today in Greece, where they literally take eggplants and tomatoes, slow cook them in olive oil with onions and garlic. Delicious, absolutely delicious. Albania has a historical figure called George Castriot, also known as Skanderberg, who was Catholic, rose up and led an uprising against the Ottomans. His backstory is that he was forcefully. Yes, I understand. I never read about Skanderberg. Though I think the Serbs today will tell you that he was Serbian. I've actually had Serbians tell me that. They're like, Skanderberg was not Albanian. Serbian. He was Serbian, I tell you right now. No. One thing I love about talking to Eastern European people is that they love talking about history and politics. My two favorite subjects. They love talking about these two subjects. And they don't really differentiate between politics and history. They can join the two together. And they see, at least the ones that I've talked to, they see current day politics as a continuation of history, which is really the exact way that I see it. And you'll talk to Serbs and no, because Germany did X, Y, and Z. Germany today doing same thing. 1998, Germany supported Albanian KLA. Germany wants to do exactly what it did World War II. German have not changed. Like I just love that attitude where it's more realistic. I can't really have that conversation with Americans. I just can't have that conversation because not all Americans, but generally speaking, I can't because when you do, it's like we talk to an American about and you say those sorts of things. The Americans will look at you and be like, "Excuse me, I've been to Germany. I was in Berlin, and people there are like the coolest people ever, and they're not Nazis. What are you talking about?" And they see everything as like ultra individualistic. They don't connect history with current day society. They just don't, because Americans see everything in an individualistic lens. So when you see everything through an individualistic lens, you tend to separate people from their history because everyone is different, which isn't entirely true. Everyone is different. So you can't really connect people with their history because not everyone's going to be the same and blah, 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 blah. And I think that is, I think it's wrong to say if you're a member of this nation, then you're automatically this. Like, I think that's wrong. But I also think it's wrong to say, well, just because this country had this history doesn't mean that today it has some sort of a continuation of the things of the past. Like, I think that's also an extreme position because then you will ignore the current political situation of that country. You won't be able, or you'll refuse to actually see how the current political atmosphere of that country is actually connected to its history. You just won't see it. You'll refuse to see it. Man, like if I tell an American, look, in Japan, they're voting for like ultra nationalists who are part of this political cult, Nippon Kai Guy. They want to revive emperor worship, and the Japanese people keep voting for the Nationalist Party. They keep voting for the Liberal Democratic Party, which is, I mean, when we hear in America liberal democratic, we think, oh, left wing, but literally, like, this is a right wing party in Japan that was, I am not even exaggerating, it was freaking formed by the CIA to fight against the Chinese. Um, and if you tell Americans this stuff, they'll be like, but Japan's so cool, man. I mean, okay, I'll be more respectful. Japan is just so cool. Like, I've been to Japan, bro. Like, I was in Tokyo, man. We just had sake and like we ate sushi every day, and people there were just so cool, man. It's like, okay, they were really nice to you because you're the white tourist. Let's be real here. But the reality is that those people, a lot of people in Japan, have these sorts of nationalistic beliefs, and well, that's not true. Well, why the hell do they keep voting for the Liberal Democrats? Why the hell do they keep voting in favor for Shinzo Abe's party? Why? Because they have those views. It's like saying, it's like if Trump were to win, let's say Trump completely transforms the Republican Party into an ultra nationalistic populist American party, which is one thing that I'm really worried about. But let's say it happens, because Trump really did change the Republican Party. And let's say the whole Republican Party becomes ultra-nationalistic lunatics, which is one of the fears that I have when it comes to Republican politics in the US. And let's say Americans vote for this party for 16 years straight, which I believe in Japan is for how long Japanese people have been voting for the Liberal Democratic Party, the LDP. Wouldn't you say that there is a problem in America of ultra-nationalism? Be like, well, you could say, well, they keep voting for this party. Generally speaking, Americans are very nationalistic. Okay, that makes sense. But if I tell an American, look what's happening in Japan, look at how they're voting in Japan, they're not voting for people who don't believe that that Nanking was fake. They're voting for people who believe that Nanking was faked. They're voting for Holocaust deniers. They're voting for people who want to revive Japanese military strength. They're voting for all this stuff. I went to Tokyo, man. We had beers there. Man, they're so cool. They're so cool. That's how Americans think. They were so nice. That's how Americans think. Everyone's so nice. They're so nice, guys. They were so cool, man. They're so hospitable. They're so hospitable. Oh, man, so hospitable. Yeah, try being in Japan when they're in a state of war and see how nice they are. You might get sliced up by a samurai sword and become sushi. I don't know. That's why I hate talking to Americans about politics. I'm not really that crazy about it because they are so damn clueless. And it's not like they're clueless, but they're willing to learn. It's not like that. It's really, they're clueless and they love being clueless. Like, I remember I was talking to this American guy, and I was talking to him about, I think it was about Germany or something. And he's like, you can't, like, if I tell an American, look, Germany's doing this. Germany's doing A, B, C, and D. Japan is doing A, B, C, and D. They'll be like, you can't judge all German people. I'm not judging all German people. I'm just saying this is the political climate of that freaking country, which does reflect the political climate of that society. Like, for example, AfD is now one of the biggest parties in Germany. AfD is an ultra-nationalistic, populist, Eurosceptic party in Germany. It's one of the biggest parties now. It dominated 2 whole regions in Germany in the last election. You can't sit there and deny that this is a reflection of Germany's society. But if I like, I remember when I first started writing about Germany, I would get these asinine, obnoxious Americans on my comment section. You just hate German people. What? You just hate German people. So does that mean that you hate Chinese people because you don't like the Chinese Communist Party? I mean, are you that retarded? You can't be this retarded. You really can't be this inept. And I remember in my little discussion with Heather Green, Heather was like, I think that you don't really fully understand the Turkish people. You just demonizing the Turkish people. It's like, when the frick did I demonize anybody? I'm just talking about the reality of political climates around the world. But I digress. Let's get back to your guys' questions. I did not expect a cartoon to be so violent. I don't recommend anyone to watch it. Man, don't watch Invincible. Dude, I will not watch anime. I'm not gonna watch anime. That just anime. Oh my god, dude, the whole anime industry is so sick. It's full of like pedophilia and I've researched this. I haven't looked at this stuff. I will never look at such evil stuff. But I've read about it, and they have like pedophilia in their anime and weird, just degenerate stuff. It's violent stuff. It's so sick, so sick. And I asked, like, why is Japanese anime so weird? I'll tell you why it's so weird. You know why? Read about what the Japanese were doing to China, to every country that they conquered. Let's just put it that way. The Philippines, the Chinese, the Koreans. Look at what the Japanese did to those people. Butchered them by the millions, killed them by the millions. Look at Unit 731, the experiments that the Japanese were doing to innocent people, to POWs, even to American POWs, Russian civilians, Chinese civilians, Korean civilians, etc. Freezing people alive, cutting people up, infecting people with diseases, malaria, bubonic plague, like really, really sick stuff. And the Japanese people in Japan supported their military. And today, Japanese people vote for politicians who deny that this ever happened. They murdered people by the millions. They did horrific things to innocent people by the millions, raped women by the hundreds of thousands. After World War II, what do you do with all that? That violent energy is still there. Those violent inclinations, those sick, sadistic inclinations and impulses, they're still there. They didn't just go away because America said stop. They're still there in the minds of the people. All those soldiers who raped and pillaged and brutalized and did experiments on people, they had children. And those children had grandchildren. They're still alive. That shit doesn't go away. So where does it go? How does it release itself? What's the outlet by which it can release itself? Anime. That's why anime is so sick. I truly believe that's why anime is so sick and demented. Also, 1/4 of the population of Bulgaria is yeah. There's a lot of Muslims in Bulgaria. Do you think that whites are racist towards other whites? Not in America, at least not anymore. There used to be a problem in America where Anglos were racist against Italians and they were racist against Irish people. It's not the case anymore in the U.S. Now, every person in America who's of European heritage just goes under the category of white. In Europe, it's not like that. People go by their nationality because they're all white, but they all go by their nationality. Norwegian, I'm German, I'm Hungarian, whatever. Can whites are whites racist towards other whites? I mean, generally speaking, I don't think so. But I would say that there are definitely elements within Europe that are racist against other Europeans. Sure, yeah. Especially like I remember talking to this Serbian guy, and he told me that in Germany they call Balkan people white N-words. And if you don't know what the N-word is, go look it up. White N-words. That's what he told me that's what Germans call us. In the Balkans, man, people hate Serbs and Croats. My God, those people hate each other with a viciousness that is unfathomable to most Americans, I would say. Do you watch modern Marvel superhero movies? No, I do not. I do not like superhero films. The last superhero movie that I watched that I enjoyed wasn't really a superhero movie. It was the last Christopher Nolan Batman movie, which I thought was pretty good. The only thing I didn't like about that movie was that Catwoman nonsense. I mean, you got this like little petite white girl with long hair and a cat. She got cat ears on her head. I mean, the movie is great, right? You got like Batman and Christian Bale's Batman, and he's fighting Bane. He's going against Bane, and and all these things are happening, and they're like, there's chaos all over Gotham. Like, wow, there's like mock trials and is revolution and anarchy, and it's that aspect really, really good. Love that aspect. The music was good, the fighting was great, really well done. But then you have this woman that pops up. This woman who just pops up, and she has freaking cat ears on her head. It's like she has a headband with cat ears. Looks like she's going into a Halloween party. And she's doing like taekwondo spinning hook kicks on people. That's the only reason why I would not give that movie a 10. Like, I would give the movie a 9. I would give it a 10 if she wasn't in it. She ruined that movie. That Catwoman, she made it so cringe and annoying. I'm sitting there watching this. I'm like, okay, Bane beating the shit out of Batman, right? Bane's a big guy. That's realistic. Bane's in freaking Kazakhstan. They're in Kazakhstan. Batman's in a pit. He's climbing up a rope. The guys are cheering him on. I mean, it's a beautiful scene. It really is a beautifully done scene. Beautifully done movie. They got the scientist from Kazakhstan who knows how to use the nuclear bomb. Like, that's all fascinating stuff. But then you have this woman with cat ears. And just like that, I am forced back into the 1990s Batman movies. It just ruined the movie. I mean, it didn't completely ruin it, but it just tainted the film with cringe. That's all I have to say. I did enjoy the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire. Loved that film. Saw it in theater when I was like 12 or 13 years old. Really enjoyed it. Didn't really care for the other Spider-Man films. I did like Spider-Man 2 a little bit more than the other ones, but like Spider-Man 3 sucks, and all the most recent Spider-Man movies I think are garbage. I don't care about any of them. Yeah. Ted, I love history talks. Oh, thank you. That's what I like to do also. AR are dangerous because it's a double-edged blade. It can decide to wipe us out for our insane lifestyle, to decide to enslave. Wait, hold on. This is not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I've heard this before, that robots are not intelligent. Robots don't have consciousness. Robots don't have ideology. Robots can only do what they're programmed to do. That is it. They aren't going to enslave us. They're not going to decide to enslave us. Oh my God. When Andrew used to write for us, we used to get into arguments about this, and he really believed that like robots were going to become conscious or something like that. And I was like, dude, just stop. No, it's not going to happen. To walk us through your journey through books is more. Okay. I mean, I'm glad you like that. Why do American boomers write everything in capital letters and overuse ellipsis? I think it's because they don't know how to handle the internet. That's what I really believe. Think about it. You were born in like the 1960s. You were born in the 1950s and 60s. You were born, I think boomers are from I think boomers are people who were born in I want to say from the late 30s all the way up to the 1960s, or mid 70s. But think about it. The internet is something so completely new to you. If you're a boomer, you were an adult when the internet came out, when AOL came out. And now before the internet, what did you have to do? What was your social life like? Your social life was talking to your friends. Maybe you had one friend. Maybe you had two friends. Maybe you didn't really have so much of a social circle. Your social circle was pretty small, right? The social circle for a lot of boomers, believe it or not, was the church. You went to church every Sunday. You talked with your church buddies. You talked about the Bible. You talked about football. After church, you went out to eat. Very common thing that people do in America. After church, I'm pretty sure they do this in other countries, but after church, they go out to eat, have a burger, they got a steak, they get a beer, whatever. They go watch football. That was your social life. If you wanted to talk to somebody who wasn't in front of you, you had to call them, pick up the phone. And again, that person that you're calling is someone that you know, because in order for you to call them, you had to know their number. And they had to give you your number. They had to trust you enough to give you their number. So imagine all these decades, that is your social life. Your social life is people in front of you, people in your neighborhood, people at your church, people at your workplace. That's your social circle. Now, take that brain that's so conditioned to living that way and give it the internet. Here, you can talk to random people. Here, you can speak your mind without anyone knowing who you are. Here, you can communicate with people in different countries. That brain is going to go crazy. It's like giving a kid sugar for the first time. They go nuts. So you give a boomer a computer and they're like, bah, 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 bah. They take everything personally. Somebody tells them an insult, they go crazy because they're like, this person called me this. I am so upset. I'm gonna give them a piece of my mind, because the way that they're acting online is how they would act in real life. So if they were like, so if your only social interaction is you talking with someone that you know, and that person that you knew insulted you, you'd be like, what? F you. F you, man. But now you go to the internet and they have that same mentality, but it's with random people online. They don't know how to handle it. They don't know that on the internet, people are going to insult you because you're not in front of them. They can't understand that. They can't understand that people behind a screen, no one knows who they are. And so people are going to say all sorts of things. They're going to troll people. They're going to prank people. They're going to punk on people. They're going to do all sorts of things. A lot of boomers can't handle that. And that's why they write the way they write. Now, my generation, we got the internet when we were 8, 9 years old. At least for me, that's how old I was when I was introduced to the internet. And the internet has been something in my life for most of the years that I've been on this earth. So 8 years old, AOL. And what I did when I was 8 years old was I'd get on the internet and look up maps. That's all I want to do is maps. But then you get older and you got email. Oh, wow, email. And then someone told me about instant messaging when I was in junior high. Somebody told me, oh, instant messaging. Was it junior high or high school? I think it was 8th grade or freshman year of high school. Somebody told me about instant messaging on AOL. AOL instant messaging. AOL IM. Oh, I got it to AOL instant messaging. I can talk to my friend from school from my house. We can LO. And then he introduced me to LOL. I said, what's LOL? Laugh out loud. Oh, so he starts LOLing, lulling me, and I'm LOL. I'm lulling him, and I'm like, LOL, LOL, dude, LOL, LOL, what? LOL, WTF, LOL. So then, when I'm in junior high, I start looking up political forums. and again, when I first discovered political forums, I didn't know how to handle it. I'm arguing with liberals on a forum. They're like, no, Bush is a E, and I'm F you, man. And here I am thinking, like, wait a second. You're meaning to tell me I can say whatever the hell I want and they won't even know who I am? Yeah, okay. Boom, 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 boom. You start machine gunning people. You're trolling people. It's fun. It's like this. You have this sense of power. I couldn't handle it. But that sense of power, I just indulged myself in it so much. But then as I got older, I realized, man, that's a waste of time. Don't you want to reach people in a more intelligent way? Don't you want to like not waste your life on trolls and assholes and just actually talk to intelligent people and try to convey your message in a reasonable way? Yeah, I think that would be better. Okay. So as you're so the effect that the internet has on boomers is the same effect that it would have on someone who's 12 years old. They can't handle it. It's like putting a kid in a candy shop and telling him you can buy whatever you want, as much as you want. They're gonna go crazy. They can't handle it. So they eat so much sugar, and then they get a sugar high, and then they feel like shit. They feel dizzy. They want to drink water because they're so nauseated with all the sugar in their system. They feel fatigued. I don't want to do that again. Then what happens? Oh, I think I'm not going to eat as much candy this time. They slowly start to learn, and pretty soon they eat candy once in a while, and they enjoy candy in a more moderate way. And they realize, well, you know what? I can still enjoy candy as long as it's moderate. Once I indulge myself in candy, I'm not really enjoying myself anymore. I'm just making myself feel sick. Okay. Same thing with the internet. Hope that answers your question. Brother, my new roommate is a godless, balding neo-socialist. How do I survive living in the same apartment without committing historical events? If you can't move out, I would, honest to God, just avoid any political discussion with the guy. And, be nice to him. He is living with you, so be nice to him. I don't know, buy him a Chivapi or something. Some Serbs will tell you that our Lord Jesus Christ spoke in an old Serbian dialect. I'd like you to check out a Serbian historian, Jovan Deditic. Is this a meme, or do people actually think this way in Serbia? Those who chose not to speak out, but instead focused on rescuing people from the Nazis that spoke. Oh, I see. Okay, I see what yes, you're correct. You are definitely correct about that. Yes. When Pope Pius XII spoke out against Hitler, the Nazis intensified their anti-Catholic persecution. That is why the Pope didn't speak out as much, because he was in a very difficult spot, very difficult situation. And he was more concerned about saving human lives than about looking good on a headline. Does it matter the ethnicity of Skanderberg? No, it does not. He rose up against the Ottomans, a Balkan hero. Exactly. Well, yeah. People mix Kosovo and Albania a lot. Cultures are totally different. Aren't they? I mean, isn't Kosovo mainly inhabited by Albanians, though? Yesterday, I watched a documentary on Czech beer. And it was a Vice documentary. And if you're watching a Vice documentary, they're going to get some sort of hip looking millennial to host everything. And so they get this Czech girl with a nose piercing to talk about Czech beer. And throughout this documentary, she's constantly drinking beer. And so she's like, you can just see her getting more drunk and more drunk as the documentary goes on. And she's like, everything tastes like beer, beautiful beer, everything. And then she's talking to this Czech guy. And this Czech guy says, the most beautiful beer you'll drink is the one you are drinking now. Very important to live in the present moment. We can learn philosophical wisdom by drinking beer. Yes. Dobra. And you read the comments, and all the comments are like, she's so classy. She's so classy. She has such a great person. American men, oh my God, so many of them, they talk just as stupid as American women sometimes. They do. She has such a great personality. The only reason why you're saying that is because she's somewhat good looking, and that's it. That's the only reason why you're saying that. She's such a good personality. If she was hella ugly, or if she was like 400, if they got like a 400-pound Czech girl and had her do the documentary, and you had this 400-pound Czech girl, fat ass woman, huge, and she's like, I love beer, and she has no neck, people would be like, Vice, get this ugly beast off the screen. Ugh, lost my appetite. I was trying to eat my dinner. But because she's somewhat good looking and has a nose piercing, and she looks cool and millennial, and she's laid back, such a good personality, man. Such a good. You're only saying that because she's good looking. That's it. She talks like any other dumb college student. Beer, yes, beer. You know what girls in my generation want to do? They want to eat. That's all they want to do. Take me to a restaurant. Take me to the restaurant. Take me to a bar. Take me to a restaurant. Take me to a Why? So I can get you fatter? In Romania, we also have pseudo-historians who claim Jesus was Dacian. That's so retarded. Special hello to Brandon wherever he is. Okay, I'm tired of this meme. I don't care. Will the Kurds who live in Turkey's eastern border pose a challenge to Turkish expansion? Maybe. I think Turkey is crushing the Kurds in Syria. Many Kurds in Turkey actually support Erdogan, by the way. Many Kurds in like Ankara, Istanbul, they support Erdogan. So I don't know. Kurds were doing a lot of the killing during the Armenian genocide, so I don't really put too much trust in them. You can judge a person from the work that the person has done. Sure. I think boomers using all caps must have bad eyes. What language did the former Yugoslavia as state speak? Serbian? I don't know. I just call the language Balkan because it's like, oh, he's speaking Serbian. But if he's Bosnian, do we say he's speaking Bosnian? Like they're speaking the same language. It's like if somebody from London is talking versus someone from New York is talking. Like, well, he's speaking American. He's speaking English over there. They're the same language. That's why in America we just say we speak English, because it would be redundant and just kind of cringe to say, I'm speaking American here, boys. I'm speaking American. So when people say, oh, what language he's speaking, Serbian, Bosnian, or Croatian, I'm like, he's speaking Balkan. That's what I say now. I'm like, oh, he's speaking Balkan. Do the lisp again, Theo. Which we're gonna have with Fabi thoughts later on. Is that what you want to hear? I don't know. Generally speaking, what do you have against nationalism? Oh God, I have to answer this question. The problem with this question is that usually the people asking it, they believe in patriotism, and they think that I'm attacking patriotism. I don't really have a problem with patriotism. In fact, it's actually very necessary at times. What I have an issue with is when people start saying things like our race is better, or when they start talking about like having a pure nation, purging the country of minorities, like that's where things get scary. When people start waving their national flags around, but they're doing it in a very weird way with like weird marching, and they're holding torches at night, like I would be worried about that. But if you're just, if you're just like, I'm an American and I think America has done so many great things for the world and for its people, like that's not, there's no issue with that. But if you start saying things like, I think we should purge America of certain minorities, I think we should kind of make America more white, that's a problem. So that's my issue. The official language of ex-Yugoslavia was politically motivated violence. Dobra, dobra. I noticed that Japan has a high suicide rate. Why is that? Because they have a society of absolute pressure and absolute perfection. You have to be perfect. Why did you get an A minus? You should have got an A plus. And there's all this crazy family pressure, and that can really mess with people's heads. Societal pressure, family pressure, and an absence of spiritual hope. A lot of that will mess you up. And so people just see no purpose in living. I mean, there's no God, there's no spiritual destiny for man. And I have become this sort of worthless member of society. That's how they see themselves. So they say, I see no purpose in living. So I think that's in one summation, I think that covers it, or that explains it. Cannabis is legal now. Okay. I don't smoke weed. Dude, Japanese girls are hot. Dude, they look like anime. What? Yeah, that. Oh my god, that meme is so cringe. Remember Shinzo Abe doing shuck and jive act in front of our Congress? They got schmoozed big time. I remember he spoke to the Congress and he was talking about his grandfather. He's like, my grandfather, what was his name? Nabutomo Kishi or something like that. He was my grandfather, and his grandfather was like a freaking war criminal. Yeah, that guy. War criminal who was backed by the CIA. The CIA created the Liberal Democratic Party, by the way. The LDP is the Taliban of Japan, just as the Taliban was the result of the U.S. government. It was a result of American foreign policy against Russia. The LDP is the result of American foreign policy against the Chinese. America made sure that crazy right-wing nationalists would rule Japan, so that Japan could be used as a proxy against the Chinese. This is the bottom line. And now they want us to fear the Chinese, and they're making a bunch of bullshit up, saying, "Oh, look at this super powerful military in China." When the reality is that for decades, the Chinese have been not completely, but almost completely reliant on like Russian ingenuity and Russian motors for their fighter jets. And I don't think Russians really sell the full package to their clients. And we just saw the effectiveness of Russian ingenuity, at least the stuff that they sell to people, In Azerbaijan, when the Azeris slaughtered the Armenians, and the Azeris had NATO technology, and the Armenians had Russian technology, and the Armenians got their asses kicked. So America wants us to fear China so that we can support Japanese fascism. Japan's LDP are super corrupt, although many people in Japan know about this. Their culture of not standing out and being in harmony really made most of them being, yeah, I know. I know. That's the thing, though. In America, one thing I like about living in America is that people are very argumentative when it comes to American politics. Um, you can find more people in America willing to talk about or criticize American politics. Whereas in a country like Japan, it's there's no one gives a shit. Everybody's make money, make money, make money. Dude, debate me, bro. You hate Germans. Haha, the repressors will never win. We are the new counterculture. You hate German people? Yes, semi ironic. Yeah, dude, what did I miss? Hello, Christian. Japan should have colonized the Portuguese. Japan should have been colonized by the Portuguese. It should have, but I doubt that would even be possible. I mean, very difficult country to control. And it's very difficult to control, even if you have a very powerful military, it's very difficult to control a country solely with military power. This is the reason why in America, in the US military, there is a department called psychological operations. What psychological operations does is it convinces the local population to side with the United States. So if America's at war with a country and we got boots on the ground, the US government will utilize psychological operations to get people on our side, to get the local population on our side. So America will give those people like free medical attention, free food, candy, toys for the kids, clothes, things like that. And they do this with the hope of getting the locals on America's side to support the United States. Why is that so important? Because you want to be able to control the country with the least amount of resistance. Like you don't, or little to no resistance, really. Because if people are liking you, they're not going to resist you. So that means less military casualties. That means less utilization of the military, and that makes it easier for the United States to win the war and to control the country that it wants to defeat, to occupy. Um, in a country like Japan, even if the Portuguese had a very powerful military, it would be difficult to control Japan because there's such a resilience to Christianity there. So I think that if Portugal even managed to conquer Japan, would it be able to maintain that control? And that's a difficult question to answer. Trends in Japanese cosmetic surgeries are so, yeah, I know, I've seen it. They have similar stuff in China. It's so weird. Yes, I know Dutch Protestants were involved. I don't think it's accurate to say that anime has sick adult themes because of lingering violent energy. Just as much sickness in the West. Difference is cartoons are not for kids. I'm okay. Not saying there's no sickness in America. We all know that goes without saying. Okay, we get sickness all over the place. But the fact that, okay, I'm pretty certain that it would be safe to say that pedophile anime is illegal in the United States. Like, I don't think it would be tolerated in America or in any sane country. In Japan, they have pedophilia in anime, and child porn was actually not outlawed in Japan until 2014. That tells me something about Japan. And also the fact that anime is so popular. I mean, the levels of violence that I see in Japanese anime, and these are and this is like in popular stuff, is unlike anything I've ever seen in American cinema. I mean, like they are sick American films, but how popular are those movies really? They are weird, gory movies all over the world. Not all over the world, but in many different countries. But how popular are they? Like, for example, there was a film that came out from Serbia. I think it was so called like a Serbian film. I've never watched it. I read about it, but I never watched it because I don't like watching stuff like that. But it's like, how many people actually watch this movie, you know? Whereas in Japan, anime is pretty widespread and it's pretty deranged. A lot of it is pretty deranged. Point to the bully. Japan have only been allowed to build their military in the last decade. Germany is the main power in Europe. France, yes, because they are a marine powerhouse. Yeah, you're right in that Germany is the main thing. Like I said, I'm not completely comparing the situation of Germany, or I'm not completely equating the situation in Germany to that of Japan. And as I said, I recognize that Japan is controlled by America, but that control is slowly releasing itself. And as it releases itself, Japan is going to get deeper and deeper into militarism. We see it happening every year. When will Germany hegemonic power get point to war? What this decade is 30s or is the not 2040s? What time? I have no idea, dude. I believe it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen in the 2030s, but maybe 2040s. I don't know. Maybe late 2030s, just like late 1930s, Germany invaded Poland. Yes, they are still racist against Appalachians. How? I don't know. Are Appalachians like discriminated against? Yes, whiteness is yeah, you're correct. It's an American concept. Many Croats who claim to be Illyrians. Don't Albanians claim to be Illyrians? Remember, there was this trend on YouTube. I remember when I was in high school, there was this trend on YouTube where it was like Albanians would post these videos and they would say Albanians are ancient Illyrians. And then there was this trend on YouTube where like every video from the Balkans was like Greece is Macedonia, Macedonia is Greece, Alexander the Great was Greek. Remember that? Remember that debate? There was this debate in the early 2000s online. They would say Alexander the Great was Greek. No, he was Macedonian. Alexander the Great was Slavic or whatever. Remember that weird part of the internet? I remember because I was always fascinated with foreign stuff. I was born an internationalist. U.S. had whites, oh god. You mentioned white people, and it's like, oh, white people, that's an American concept. It goes back to U.S. had whites, white indentured servants, slaves, natives. So black and white was made to differentiate between this. Yes, we know. My mom told me once that we used to call the Transylvanian Saxons retards. What? That is mostly meant in reference to Dalmatian Romans, as there is a belief that the incoming Slavs mix with already existing populations. But you love cats, Theo. I do. Wait, hold on, I don't understand. What are you referring to? I don't get it. Ted be like, I don't like anime, but I play Nintendo. Yes. Well, dude, Nintendo's not that bad. Come on. It's like Mario's not bad. That's for kids. I am playing Resident Evil, which is a Japanese video game, but that game, it's come on, we're killing zombies here. It's nowhere near as twisted as like some of the other weird stuff I've seen. I seen a comment to say Portugal shouldn't have occupied Japan. Theo, you need to correct asshats. What are you talking about? What are your thoughts on transhumanism? I think any idea of trying to like upgrade humans to become robots, like for example, there's some crazy Jewish guy who's in the transhumanist world. I forgot his name, but he has this idea of creating human 2.0, which is like the modern equivalent of Nietzsche's Übermensch. Anything like that is troublesome because once you start talking about the Übermensch and you start talking about this idea of creating a perfect human through embryo selection, meaning you don't just have babies the old-fashioned way of having sex. that you got to get the sperm and the egg in a lab and then put them together, and then you get multiple embryos, and then the parents, the mom and the dad, they pick which one they want based on the genetic qualities of that child. I don't really see the difference between that and Nazism, like in the sense that the Nazis believed that through eugenics they could create a superhuman race, whereas these people believe that through embryo selection we could create a perfect human race. I don't really see much of a difference, and I don't see how that would not escalate into a policy of murdering people who are already born because their genetic qualities are seen as impediments to a eugenic utopia. So I'm not cool with any of that. I don't like it. It's bizarre. Robots do what they are programmed to. The problem is, as far as I get it, that certain self-learning AI writes parts of their own programming in a way that isn't 100% understand. I've heard this before. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's like it's a computer. Humans design it so they know exactly what this thing is doing. It's like a video game. Like don't the designers understand what they're designing? Like they don't. I don't. It just doesn't make any sense. I don't know. AI doesn't need consciousness to pose an existential threat to us. Doing what it is programmed to do can be exactly why it would become systematically. But yeah, but you would also have to then admit that the people who programmed it can stop it. And if the people who programmed it can stop it, that means it's not going to fully go out of control. It would be used as a weapon, no doubt, but it doesn't mean that it's like gonna enslave the earth, or like robots are just gonna turn on people unless they're programmed to attack humans. And in either case, they're programmed to do what they're programmed to do. Dude, come on. Classify humans as a threat to it. Programs don't really have a sense of the future. Like when a human protects himself, he does so because he has a sense for the future. Like he wants to continue living. You can't make that argument for computers. They're inanimate objects. They don't have consciousness. It's just a computer. It's just a computer. That's all it is. It's programmed to do what it does. And if somebody wants to pull the plug on it, they can. It's like one of those vacuum cleaners that moves on its own to clean the house. It can be stopped. Fact of the day, word robot comes from Slavic languages and it meant to work hard. I did not know that. Slavic people invent robots. You know that. 8-year-old Ted planning his future empire using Google Earth. Dude, when I was in high school, I had this atheist friend, and we would play this game where we would get an atlas. So we would find any book on geography or history or whatever, and find these textbooks all had atlases. You would find the atlas, and then one of us, we would each pick a country, and then we would get a pair of dice, and you had to land it on 7 in order to conquer a country. So let's say I'm Angola. I would always pick Angola. Like I'm Angola, and he would be, I think, Chad or something. And be like, okay, the Republic of Angola versus Chad. Which empire will win? And so let's say, okay, I'm Angola. I want to invade Congo. So I would roll the dice, and if I landed on 7, I conquered the Congo. Congo became my territory. But if I didn't land on 7, then my opponent would be allowed to punch me in the shoulder as hard as he could. And that would basically, it was actually a perfect game because it gave you the sense of defeat. You just got punched and you got a little bit of pain, so you can kind of feel the pain of combat. And that meant you lost the country. So I tried to conquer Mali, and I didn't make it on 7. When I rolled the dice, Kevin, the guy I would play this game with, would punch me in the shoulder. And then he would roll, and then he would pick a country, and he would say, okay, I want to invade Egypt or something. He'd roll the dice, and if he didn't land on 7, I would punch him in the shoulder. And we would play this game. It was a lot of fun because it's like, man, it was like a battle. Like, man, I better land on 7 or else I'm gonna get a world of pain. I better land on 7. And sometimes you would land on 7 and you would conquer that country and you wouldn't get punched. It was a crazy video game. Stanislav Lem, funny AI fiction, tells a robot to make nothing. Disaster ensues. I did not know about this. That's interesting. I thought the word robot comes from the Slavic word for slaves. Could be interpreted as unmake everything. Then you have a gray goo scenario. Robota is an archaic word for hard work. I did not know this. Some crazy boomers in Serbia and Croatia as well will drink up all and any nationalistic theories you could think of. Yeah, because again, their whole lives they're used to what? Reading books. So they go online and they think, well, if some guy wrote it, I mean, it must be true, right? They just suck it up. Same way that American boomers suck up all sorts of bullshit online. Like, oh, you can drink this and it'll kill COVID or something. And then some guy ends up dying. Czechs have a very big pornography problem. 10th biggest site in the internet is a Czech porno site. The Czech president's daughter is a porn actress. Damn. They've really come a long ways from following Jan Hus, I see. Did you know the Catholic Church? Here's a story that not a lot of Catholics talk about. The Catholic Church had a lot of wars. Catholics had a lot of wars. They fought against the Muslims, but they had a lot of wars against Europeans as well, European heretics, like the Albigensians, the Protestants, things like that. But there is one holy war that the Catholic Church fought that was very embarrassing for the Catholic Church, very embarrassing for Catholic Christendom, and that was the Hussite War. The Hussite War was probably the most embarrassing war that the Catholic Church ever launched in its history. I read a lot about the Hussite Wars years ago, and I felt embarrassed. So some guy named Jan Hus became a waiter in England where he learned about the teachings of John Wycliffe. He comes back to Czechoslovakia, Bohemia, which basically is Czech Republic today. And he starts teaching all this stuff. He becomes a Catholic priest. He gets, I think, the biggest congregation in all of Prague, has a huge following. Everybody loves him. And he starts criticizing the Catholic Church. Starts saying that the whore of Babylon is the Catholic Church or whatever. The Hussite movement, the followers of Jan Hus, would eventually form a separatist movement because Jan Hus was executed. He was burned at the stake. And after he was executed, his followers would become a separatist movement. They wanted to separate Bohemia, sever Bohemia from the Holy Roman Empire. So you had a separatist revolt and a war ensued. Defenestration of Prague. They threw some of the Habsburg representatives out the window. And a war started. Actually, no, this is 30 Years' War. What the hell is wrong with me? Stop. Let me reverse. I got my wars. That's 30 Years' War. 30 Years' War is actually a continuation of the Hussite War, if you think about it, to a certain extent. Hussite War. So the Hussites start killing the Catholics in Bohemia. Holy Roman Empire gets involved. And you have this like 20-year or so war. And the Catholics were just losing over and over again in that war. They lost so much. And the Bohemians, man, they were good fighters. They were very good at war, and they were very good at military tactics. What the Bohemians did was they invented the tank. The first tank, I think, comes from Bohemia, and it was first operational in the Hussite War. What they did was they took a giant wagon, a ginormous wagon, tied it to a bunch of horses, and then they carved out these little square holes in different parts of the wagon so that people could fire cannons and guns, and they could fire I think it was like crossbows from inside the cannon where they couldn't get hit. So they could kill people from inside the wagon, but people couldn't shoot them. And these wagons would just charge right on the Catholic front line. They would get tons of these wagons, and they would have these giant horses just charge right into the front line with these wagons. And the Catholics would run. I mean, they just wouldn't know what to do. They ran, and these ancient, I mean, these old tanks, these I guess you could call them precursors to the tank, they would roam around and just shoot the enemy, take them out. And so many battles were won by the Bohemians through this way. And the Bohemian, man, the Catholics, they lost so much. They lost so much. It came to the point that the Catholic Church, the Catholic side, just had to sign a treaty and get some kind of settlement and just say, okay, we're done. That's it. And eventually the Holy Roman Empire said, okay, you can practice your Hussite religion. Just don't do anything crazy. And because the Hussite heresy was still strong in Bohemia, another revolt took place in Bohemia, in Prague. It's called the Defenestration of Prague, in which Hussite heretics threw out a bunch of representatives for the Habsburg Empire out a window. And that started the 30 Years' War. So the 30 Years' War really was the result of the Hussite heresy still being in Bohemia. To a great extent, it was sparked by that. Drunk women can become extremely unattractive. Yeah, they can act really stupid. Thoughts about shutting down all immigration, migration, and invasion? I guess you want me to say that immigrants are ruining America and the Mexicans are going to destroy America. Is that what you want me to say? Is America so weak that a bunch of Mexicans with sombreros can destroy it? If that's the case, then you deserve to be destroyed. If that's the case, hold on, my cat's knocking on the door. Come on, kitty. Theo, if you would choose an East Asian language, which one would you learn? It's a hard one. I would go with Japanese because I studied Japan a lot. So the sugar teach didn't help that I like a drink. We are all very different, but being capable of the Holy Spirit indwelling, look at those that are called saints. I don't know what you're talking about. I know you're like 50 comments behind, but okay, hold on, guys. I do this once a week, man. This is my time just to talk to you guys, answer all of your questions, and I just sit back. I got nothing scheduled for today. I sit back and I enjoy myself talking to you guys, and I drink a beer with it. It's a lot of fun. What you described as nationalism is ethno-nationalism. But nationalism can escalate to that. So for example, okay, what's nationalism to you? Describe it to me. Because nationalism, as far as I know, is when you begin to say your country is better than other countries, and no matter what my country does, I'm not going to criticize it, and you basically just indiscriminately follow whatever your country does. That's essentially what nationalism is. And it's more so a supremacist way of thinking. And I don't see how that can't escalate into ethno-nationalism. Because if you're going to start saying, well, your country's so great, I mean, every nationalistic, I can't think of a single nationalistic party that doesn't target some kind of minority. I just can't find one. Like every nationalistic party I've read about, from the AFD, from the guys in Hungary, I forget their names, Dobik or something, Dobrik, I don't remember. All these different parties that are nationalistic, they will always target some kind of ethnic minority. They'll be like, well, this group of these people, they're ruining the country, you know. And I don't see how that can't really escalate into just full blown ethno nationalism. That's basically what it comes down to. What's your number so I can call you? What's your number? Put your number on the screen. I don't. Yeah, I don't give my number in public to strangers. Japanese cinema is quite good. I haven't enjoyed. Yes, I've seen some very good Japanese films in my life. A very good Japanese film that I've seen is called Unforgiven with Ken Watanabe. Very good movie. Excellent acting. The music is absolutely beautiful. Yep, China got its ass kicked against Vietnam. I know. But yet China, the big mean country, gonna take America out. During the Mexican War, the U.S. Army had a cadre of Mexican spies to spy on their own army. General Scott knew where the Mexican army was at all times. Oh, okay. Yeah, people do that a lot in war. I read that in an army white paper on guerrilla warfare. Pedo media is not tolerated in the U.S. You apparently never heard of Q. Okay, dude, come on. Come on, my dude. Just stop. Stop. You're trying. Okay. We're grabbing straws at this point. Cuties was one of the most controversial things in the United States. So many Americans were objecting to this. So many Americans were objecting to this. Like, if there was some weird pedophile anime that was coming out in Japan and it was legal, and I saw like half of Japan was protesting against this, I'd be like, oh, okay. Or like a huge chunk of the Japanese population was protesting against this, and it became a very controversial subject. I would say, oh yeah, okay. I mean, there's resistance. I don't see that in Japan. I don't see people like in Japan protesting against this weird sick stuff. Yeah. Plus, as I said, child porn was outlawed in Japan until 2014. In America, child pornography is still outlawed. So I think there's a difference. There clearly is a difference. Come on, in Japan, dude, they have this weird thing that they do where they have like young girls dressed up in miniskirts in Japan so that old guys can pay them just to talk to them because they want to talk to a young girl. It's just bizarre. It's a bizarre country. Martin Luther wrote a hymn called "A Mighty Fortress of Our God." I know. I don't think that's what Luther meant. I don't. I think it's something else. It doesn't. Isn't there a verse in the Bible somewhere about God being like a mighty fortress or something? Hold on. Let's look this up because you asked me this last week. I'll try to answer you. A mighty fortress is our God. Let's see here. The story behind a. Oh my God! Come on, what's up with this computer? It says here on the base of Luther's tomb is inscribed, "A mighty fortress is our God." It is said to be the greatest hymn of the greatest man in the greatest period of German history. That's some serious ass history. It exalts God to a high and lofty position in the minds and hearts of those who believe the message of the song. It is a phrase of Psalm 46. Okay, so here we go. It was influenced by Psalm 46. So let's look at that, and we can put this question to rest. God is our refuge and our strength. That's what Psalm 46 says. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. There you go. So no, it's not connected at all. I'm not going to give you my number. Stop. My God. Like, you asking random people on the internet for their numbers. Enough. If you want to talk to me, put a comment in the comment section. That's what it's for. I miss those cartoons from the 2000s like Ed, Ed, and Eddie. I remember that. Barefoot Jen and Grave of the Fireflies are definitely worth watching. Brother, the Greco-Macedonian debate is. I know it's not. It started out on YouTube and now it's like on the verge of starting starting a war between Greece and Macedonia. We are electric. Also, extreme deranged violence, even sexual, is very popular in American mainstream media. Dexter, yeah, you are correct. You are correct about that. Yes, Game of Thrones, Saw. You are. That is true. That is true. Again, I'm not saying that this doesn't exist in America. Not saying that at all. My point is, if you have a country that did not outlaw pornography until 2014, I would say that is a reflection of something deranged in the society. Can we agree on that? Can we agree on that without talking about like doing a whataboutism? Yeah. Okay. Macedonia truly is Greek. I would like to assimilate from Slavic to Greek. What? Theo, did you know that Super Mario is based on Mario Brusetti and Luigi Ottociani, black shirts responsible for. Come on, enough. Have you heard? Have you ever dreamed of making a video game, Ted? I would like to make a video game. I would be based off of maybe like a film like Inception. I think that would be a good video game. Also, Ted, it seems you've never played Bethesda games. Wait, I'm pretty sure I've played Bethesda. Hold on. Fallout, I don't play that. I don't play Fallout. Yeah, you're right. I have not played one. I've never played Elder Scrolls, never played Fallout. I've never played Doom. I played The Evil Within. I turned it off. It was just too weird for me. Too weird for me, man. You're right. You're right. I haven't played a Bethesda game. Back to the AI thing. I work in software. Everything you said about computers not being able to classify threats and people being able to pull the plugs incorrect, you'd be amazed and terrified. So are you saying that computers are going to have consciousness? I just don't see how that's possible. I just don't see it. I don't see it. If you program a machine, it's a machine at the end of the day. If you program a machine to do something, it's only going to do that one thing. It's not going to like shift itself, and it's not going to have a behavior where it's just going to decide to do what it wants. I don't see that happening. If you can create consciousness, then you can basically create human life, and that's impossible. If you ever watched the Dune movie, just remember the Frank Herbert, the author of the book, was heavily influenced by Islam and the Middle East. I did not know that. Have not watched Dune yet. Was it a good movie? Curfews, plagues, witches, beings from the void influencing the lives of people and subvert society. Yeah, it kind of is. The Japanese are cleaning up. Sure, okay. Have you seen the channel and research case study of Cyprus from Johnny Harris channel? It's really no, I have not. Do you think Scandinavian system is the best way of living? You should other I don't know, dude. I've never really studied that Scandinavian stuff. I would say the Catholic kingdoms more than the Catholic Church. The Waldensians, yeah, Waldensians never had a war with the Catholic Church. They just got slaughtered. Wait, I'm pretty sure Jan Hus went to London. Pretty sure he did. Hold on. Jan Hus, England. I read that he went to England as an employee. Or did I misread something? Okay, hold on. What the frick is up with this internet? Okay. What the hell? This internet I have is so retarded. Okay, I think I got him confused with Jerome of Prague, who studied in England. Okay. My bad, guys. My bad. Jerome of Prague, I think, was the guy that I was he was a chief follower of Jan Hus, and he studied in England. So never mind. What do you think of the Israel helps Lebanon and rebuilding the country? It could save himself from terrorism. People would have it. I don't even know what you're talking about. If Israel helped Lebanon before, it doesn't. It Hezbollah. Not everyone in Lebanon hates Israel. Maronites love Israel, generally speaking. Hezbollah hates Israel, and that's not going to change any day. So we Mexicans have seen in the U.S. since 1848, and now Tucker Carlson has figured out we are the problem. Hussites' war was also the first time in effective use of rifle. I did not know that. Limited to 200 characters per message here, but no, it's not about the things you said. It's about would take a debate to get into it for real. I mean, just describe it to me simply. Like, what's nationalism? What's not? It should be pretty simple for you. You've written longer messages in this comment section than the one you just posted up here. Mexico has a nationalistic party, and they want to abrogate the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo and go to war over the U.S. Yeah, that's bullshit. It's never going to happen. Mexico will get its ass kicked. I have heard others call in before, so I thought you wanted people to call in. Oh, okay. Well, you said your number. No, I'm not doing that today. I'm sorry about that, man. Mexico has a nationalistic party, and they want to abrogate the Treaty of Guadalupe. Yeah, those guys are idiots. Those guys are retard LARPers. We're going to retake the Alamo. We're going to retake the Alamo. The freaking Mexican soldiers can't even fight their own people without getting their asses kicked. What's your opinion about the God of the Jews being a different God from the triune God? I think the God of the Jews today, in many ways, is different from the Christian God. Yes, because it's not triune. It's a Unitarian God, which is closer to the Islamic God. Have you been to any African country before? I went to Egypt one time, but I was an infant and only stayed in the airport. So I guess I've been to Africa. If no, I would like to take you to my country, Ghana. Appreciate the offer. I'm not really traveling. Yahweh is a tribal god put forth by Moses to kill and plunder the enemies of the Jews. Oh God, we have an Albigensian in our midst, guys. Not saying computers can have consciousness, saying they can classify objects in real space and can interact with them based on neural net action. I mean, dude, if you can explain this much, you can tell me what nationalism is. Advanced AI can program its own actions. But okay, but still, let's say you program a drone and you program it to kill the enemy. And you have a self-flying drone, right? A self-operating drone. It's gonna just kill the enemy. It's not gonna like decide to one day start killing the people who engineered it, unless there's some like weird glitch and it just starts firing bullets and you have to shoot the thing down, which wouldn't be a part of some kind of machine behavior. It would just be a glitch at that point or some kind of technical error. But I mean, if it's programmed to do something, it's going to do that. But I just don't see the machine like, okay, I'm going to change my mind. I just don't see that. Conservatives in America do not want another war. They already have 50 million of us Mexicans, and they do not want more. But to them, every Spanish speaker is a Mexican. I know, man. I'm aware of that. My godless communist, bolding socialist roommate watched and liked Dune, and he liked it a lot. Okay. Theo is half Mexican, so I'm sure he will be conflicted as to which side to. Yes, guys, I'm gonna be conflicted because of my ethnic identity, blah blah blah. You guys think we're all like ethnocentric or something like that? Like, dude, if there is a war, if there's a race war in America, I ain't getting involved because it's bullshit. That's why it's all freaking bullshit. Gotta protect white people. Gotta protect the white people. Even though we're living very comfortably right now, we all live in the suburbs, and we got we're living very decently well. We get eating hot pockets. I'm gonna get my rifle, and we're gonna fight a war, and we're gonna fight. We're gonna play country music. Toby Keith as we just shoot Mexicans. Yes, come on, it's just bullshit. The new Dune movie are good as far as sci-fi can get, but the themes in the movie are probably not for you. Yeah, it just looks stupid. I saw the trailer. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not interested in this stuff. Thank you for looking out for my interest, though. For some reason, that communist bastard actually has a decent taste in movies. So, the beast out of the earth, Revelations 13:11. Then I saw a second beast coming out of the earth. Quran will bring forth for them a beast from the earth. I have to look into that. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on the Quran. Do you think it would have been better if Mexico became a French puppet state? Yes, I probably would have been better. Maybe you would have no cartels. I don't know. It is difficult to explain what this enemy thing is to a computer, even harder to differentiate this enemy from a friend. French speaking Mexicans better food? What? When I was living in Mexico, I knew a girl who was half French. She was pretty hot too. Mexico would have been better off with the Spanish. I agree. Don't Mexicans already have food better than the French? Yes, Mexican food is better than French food. Theo, do you think a university degree is still worth the cost? I do not. I don't know. It depends on what you want to study. If you want to be a doctor, you're going to have to go to medical school. If you want to be a surgeon, you're definitely going to have to go to medical school. If you want to be a pharmacist, you're going to have to go to school for that. If you want to be like an engineer or a lawyer, you definitely want to go to school for that. But just to get a degree for the sake of getting a degree in something like communications or something, I don't think that's worth it. No. Here's my problem with French food. French food is not really that creative. I will say that the French are masters at cooking eggs. The French omelet, a French scramble, both very good. One thing I appreciate about the French when it comes to cooking eggs is that they like the eggs creamy. And in America, they like the eggs dry and overcooked and spongy, and it tastes terrible. But in France, they like to make the scrambled eggs creamy. They like to make the omelet soft on the outside, custardy on the inside. And once you learn how to make the omelet in this way, you really can't go back. I do like how the French utilize different types of like pastry in their recipes, or I do like how they make salads. They're very much into salads. But the French, I think sometimes they overdo it with the cream. Mexican food is very distinct. The taco, the enchilada, the chalupa, very delicious. The way that the Mexicans mix raw and cooked, cold and hot, savory and spicy, sweet and spicy. Very, very good. When will you and your dad do another video together? I miss the videos a lot. My father's been quite busy actually, so I don't know. I'm gonna have to ask him. What do you think about Mexican bread, Theo? I like it better than donuts. Mexican bread is very good, and yes, it's superior to donuts. I would agree. Very sweet with cinnamony, but it's not too sweet. It's just right. A flaky crust, flaky bread, excellent. And they put the little ridges on top of the pastry. Very creative, very good, very good. I would say that that Mexican food is far better than any other far better than any other Latin American cuisine. I think Argentinian food is like Argentinian food, Brazilian food, Uruguayan food. It's just meat. Like here's steak. So anyway, I think I'm gonna get going, guys. I've been here for how long have I been here? Over 2 hours. Okay, I think I'm gonna get going. Um, you know what? Okay, hold on. I'll be here for another 15 minutes. What or 15, 20 minutes I have left here. What do the shoebots eat during Thanksgiving? Steak, not turkey. I don't mind turkey. My dad doesn't really like turkey. Lawyers are overrated. Yeah, I think a lot of them are assholes. Any other questions, guys? All right, I think I'm done. I'll see you guys later. See you guys probably tomorrow. And yeah, God bless you guys. All right.